Okay, good.
I see.
Okay, so I'm going to hang up on my phone.
Okay.
Okay, is that working?
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Susan. We're being archived right now. We've got a few live participants, and I appreciate you stopping by, Susan. Got everything working here with the Hangout, and we've got a couple minutes before we get started. And we'll introduce ourselves and get started here. This is the Rollins Instructional Design Certificate Overview, and my name is Jeff Kissinger, and I'm going to go ahead and show you all Susan Nash. And here's Susan Nash. Say hello, Susan.
Hey there, and I'm really excited to be on using Hangouts and the fact that it's new and has some rough edges. I really like that. It's fun.
Well, great. Yeah, Susan and I are here for the information session on the Rollins Instructional Design Certificate. So we'll get started here in about a minute. I expect folks joining in throughout the next 45 minutes or so. This is going to be probably about 25 minutes of us kind of providing a basic overview of this new exciting educational opportunity. And of course, we'll open it up for questions after that as well. So bear with us a couple seconds here, and I've got a student, Levi, who's going to be monitoring the Google Hangout wall for questions and posts and things that we'd like to get to afterwards, and we'll get started here in a second. Yeah, and I thought I'd go ahead and introduce myself visually here, not too. So.
Good idea.
Susan, you're in Tulsa right now?
I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma,
Okay, great.
home of the feral cats.
And I'm here in Winter Park, Florida at Rollins College. So. Well, great. I think it's noon now, and like I said, we'll have folks probably join us, throughout the broadcast. This is exciting to be using Google Hangouts on air, and this is going to be archived as well. And we hope to generate a lot of interest and questions about the new instructional design program here at Rollins Hamilton Holt. So let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. We'll start with you, Susan.
Hello, I'm Susan Nash, and I'm Director of Education and Professional Development at the American Association of Petroleum Geologists. And I'm excited to be here, have lots of experience with different kinds of distance education, using it in all kinds of venues, from colleges to just different places, associations, really fun stuff.
Well, great. Thank you, Susan. Yeah, Susan and I have known each other for a long time, and we've worked together on a lot of projects, a lot of exciting projects. And she was one of the first persons that I contacted when we were originally conceptualizing this. So I'm just excited to be working on the project with her and doing it here at Rollins. My name is Jeff Kissinger, and I have been involved in education and training and instructional design and online and blended teaching and learning for a number of years. K-12 background for a few years, exceptional student education, adaptive technology, higher ed, and also training, online training, and things like that. So we have a wide, diverse background of different applications when it comes to teaching and learning. And I think that as we kind of get into the curriculum here, we go over some of the courses, that's going to kind of come out, and I think that provides a really unique perspective on some of the things that we're going to be doing. So we'll go ahead and get started, but before I do, Levi Connolly, who's over to my left here in the instructional design studio, he's going to be monitoring the Google Hangout and Plus wall, and also the YouTube live feed wall. So we'll open it up to actual questions, video, audio questions at the end here in about 25 or so minutes. But throughout the conversation today, please post questions and things, comments that we can hopefully get to at the end of this presentation and discussion. So without further ado, Susan, are you ready?
I'm totally ready.
Okay, great. We're going to keep this informal. We'll go ahead and start the screen share right now. I think everybody can see that. Susan, you got that? Rollins evening?
Got it.
Okay, great. So we're going to keep this very conversational. Susan and I, like I said, have known each other for quite some time. Worked on a lot of exciting projects. I think the unique thing about the instructional design program, it's really going to be based around practical, immediate applications. Susan and I have been presented over the years with challenging instructional design problems. One of the first projects that we worked on, this was years ago, was long before the ubiquity of a lot of mobile devices, the mobile learning frameworks, authoring tools, and all of those things that we sort of take for granted now. So, do you remember that, Susan? That was
Oh yeah, yeah.
the Coast Guard mobile courses we did. Remember
That
the
was so much fun. Oh yeah, we did, and then we added in video, which was really, really cool. But having to do it in such a um, basically simple, straightforward, really focusing on what we needed to get across because the technical limitations were huge, was really fun.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that a lot at that time, a lot of when you're talking about mobile learning, trying to create learning experiences that transcend a physical space, a desktop, and things like that. A lot of people were really obsessed with sort of like taking what was considered online learning at the time and squeezing it into a small screen, and really not thinking about the learning theory or the pedagogy or the learner experience. So that's changed. Obviously, there's a lot of emerging mobile learning frameworks and a lot of research that's happened since then. But at that time, it was really a technocentric perspective, and it didn't really yield great learning results. So that's kind of where we met years ago. And since then, we've worked on a lot of interesting projects. Some of them stemming off some of those early challenges. So that was a lot of fun. So, and as we get into the certificate here, Susan and myself and a couple other hand-picked colleagues of ours are going to be the designers and the facilitators of this learning experience. And we really hope that students will benefit from our challenges, our background, projects we've worked on, failures we've had, things that we've learned. And really a different kind of instructional design learning experience. You've got a very, instructional design, at its core, it's systems theory applied to learning and creating learning and aligning, learning objectives and outcomes, and but there's more to it than that. I think that you're starting to see a much more openness to agile, iterative development. I think you have to have that, especially when you're talking about designing instruction for this contemporary age.
Yes, and just to jump in, I think too, I think of the members of the petroleum geologists. There are 38,000 members worldwide. What do they need? And this is like a kind of partnership with the American Association of Petroleum Geologists to offer them the opportunity to take the courses because there's such a need to keep up with the latest technology and to understand. So, like, many people who take this course are involved in situations where they have to provide, of course this is live and my phone would be ringing, but where they have to be able to, they need to be able to get the information out immediately for safety reasons. Like if you're in a company where you've got to have compliance, these are some of the issues we deal with. It's not just a matter of like the luxury of being able to take a course for self fulfillment.
Yeah, and I think that's a really great real-world example of using modern models, modern learning models, and mobile learning, online blended. I know, Susan, you've every time I've contacted you lately, you've been in China, you were in Texas recently. So I think that that is a really great example of using technologies, but also a learning model that fits a particular need or challenge or a problem or a population, and something that we've definitely been involved with over the years with different online and mobile projects as well. So I'm going to get back to the presentation here. So yeah, just a little bit about the certificate. We really want to do something that's going to be beneficial, authentic, meaningful, and immediately applicable to the workplace. So if you're a K-12 educator, like I was for a few years, or if you're work in higher education, or if you work in training, workplace training, or a nonprofit, we really hope to create an opportunity for you to start to build, real, authentic artifacts that one could then use as a portfolio to be the professional that you want to be in the career that you want to be in training, instructional design, instructional technologist at a college or university or community college, and be able to sort of, have that work throughout your career. We hope to set the foundation for authentic learning opportunities that really transcend and the trends and the things that are inevitably going to continue to come. So that's what we really hope to share with everybody. I think that also we want to connect professionally. We want to open up the doors to the network and have students be able to interact with us beyond these learning experiences, the 6 months that it takes to go through the program. We'll be getting into the specifics here in a second. We also, one thing that's unique about the program is that we have integrated competency-based learning elements. So it's a hybrid competency-based model, so students can go through based on their learning styles, their interests, their preferences, but there also is the social piece as well, not too dissimilar from a typical asynchronous learning experience as well. We'll probably have some synchronous events as well where we can do one-on-one special topics and things. I know in previous courses I've taught, I've brought in leading researchers in mobile learning like John Traxler to do special topics and then give students an opportunity to ask questions. So I know that Susan and I will be doing that as well as some of our other colleagues who are teaching in the program. We're going to be really trying to transcend some of the typical things that one would experience elsewhere. We want this to be real and authentic, and we're not going to be using an LMS in this particular program. We're using more of a social environment. We'll have more information on that in the future. And of course, in terms of the practicality and the value that we think that this learning experience has, it's aligned to international instructional design standards. The IBSTPI standards, and you can look those up. And we did that because we wanted it to be broader than a lot of the things that are already available now. We wanted to have value. We wanted to be something that you could use professionally to level up and get that position that you wanted. So those are the things that really set it apart, I think. Susan, did you want to comment or add anything to that before we move on?
Well, I totally agree, and I think that if some of you are familiar with some of the learning management systems, LMS, such as Blackboard, you may find that it is a little bit rigid and the so-called boxy thing. So that's one of the reasons we're trying a social approach, to sort of liberate you to be able to interact with the real world.
Yeah, and I keep thinking about like Jay Cross and the Internet Time Alliance think tank and those folks, and learning is work, work is learning. Thinking about workplace training and instructional design, that shared knowledge base, that network, and thinking about connectivism, as a learning theory, that's something that we're very, very much we've ingrained into this learning experience, and we think that your successful instructional designers in the contemporary age have to have that mindset and those skills and those abilities to be able to transcend. When we think about like the 20th century face-to-face training events, the one-time events where there was really no assessment, no follow-through, very didactic in nature, a lot of online, a lot of technology-mediated learning, is like that as well. So we're trying to sort of transcend that and really build on social, informal learning, more authentic learning, and we think that definitely is applicable to the modern workplace and the learning organization. So.
Oh, absolutely. Sharing, communicating, collaborating.
So just to get on to some brass tacks here real quick, Here is the tentative schedule. We're going to be starting in December, the first week of December, with the Intro to Instructional Design course. Each of the courses are 4 weeks long. There are 5 courses, and of course a capstone at the end. In the courses, thematically, the assignments and activities that students are going to be doing, they're going to be collaborative in nature, authentic, practical, real-world things that if somebody comes from a K-12 background or a higher ed background or a corporate workplace background or government or military, all of the assignments are really geared around the student pulling their experience in. And if you're creating a plan or creating some materials, we would want the student to pull in themselves and their background or their would-be background, for the particular job that they're trying to achieve. Again, going back to the authentic, practical, immediate application elements of this learning experience, and hopefully students would leave with the beginnings of a portfolio, to get the job that they want or to get the confidence that they need in the job that they're already in. I think you see that a lot with you and I stumbled into instructional design years ago, Susan, and I think you still see a lot of that. So not only do we want to have the skills and knowledge and the actual learning artifacts that they're going to benefit you for your own edification, but also to give you the confidence and also the ability to kind of pursue the career that you really want. In the schedule, they're 4-week-long courses, and we hope to start them back to back, and they're going to be delivered 100% online, asynchronously. And as I said, we'll probably have some scheduled synchronous events and things not hard-coded into the schedule, because we understand that the reason people take flexible modality courses and online courses is because of schedules and things like that. So the second course is the Learning and Motivation and Engagement course, and Susan is working on that course right now, and we'll get into the specifics of the courses here in a moment. The third course is Learning the Connected Age. I'm working on that course right now as well. It has a lot of elements of mobile learning and social learning. Fourth course, Learning Technologies. Susan's going to be working on that as well. Oh, I'm sorry. I think that's to be determined. And of course, the e-learning, Introduction to E-Learning course is going to be taught and by the e-learning queen, Susan Nash. So
I'm the assistant. The queen.
Right.
The queen is a corgi named Gizmo.
And then the final culmination is going to be the capstone. So project-based, cooperative learning, team-based learning, producing real-world artifacts that one could use, and then it kind of culminates with the capstone where it takes all of those elements and kind of puts them together as the final capstone of the course. So did you want to add anything more about that, Susan, before we kind of get into these certificate level outcomes and then the individual courses?
Just to mention that the schedule looks a little bit tough, but it'll be fun. They're designed to be really engaging and relaxing, as well as informative.
Great. Okay, so we're doing good on time. We're about 15 minutes in, and as I said at the onset of this, if you have questions, we have our wonderful student here, Levi Connolly, over to my left that you cannot see. But he is watching the wall, the Google Plus wall and Hangout wall on the YouTube page, and if there's any comments or questions that we need to address at the very end, he's gonna shout those over at me, and we can hopefully have time to address all of them. What you see now is are the outcomes for the whole learning experience, and again, we really wanted to focus on something that was going to be meaningful for the workplace, to become that learning professional, that agile learning professional that you want to be. And to give you some experiences that are going to transcend, the 6 months it takes to complete the program, and give you the foundation for what you need to be successful in the future. We are all lifelong learners in this discipline. You have to be. You have to be connoisseurs. You have to be interested, and you have to be constantly honing your skills. And I think that the field really attracts people like that. When you look out on the social spaces and you look at the various leading thought leaders in social spaces on Twitter and in places, the Internet Time Alliance, and you see people who are dedicated to improving teaching and learning and performance enhancement because they're passionately connected to the discipline. So I think the exciting thing about it is that you're always learning something new, and there's always a new challenge and a new type of learning or population that is waiting to be addressed. So the first certificate outcome is applying the project management skills to local and virtual work groups. I know that we, in our experience, Susan, I don't know if you want to share a challenging work group on a particular project. I know that you've done some publishing for some of the large publishing groups in terms of some of the interactive online learning environments, but that's important.
It is, and I think that being able to understand what different kinds of instructional materials are out there and to optimize them is one of the critical things. And the problem that most people have is that there's too much stuff. And so what we'll do is simplify your life by giving you a strategy and workflow for working through all the mounds of material to really achieve the demonstrable, measurable outcomes that you'll need to whenever you are in charge of training and knowledge transfer.
Great, and the second outcome, develop a connoisseurship, a dedication, constantly looking and critically evaluating various technologies. I mean, everybody has the cliche story of course in a box or WebCT to this LMS, and unfortunately, it tends to be tied to the technology of the LMS. But there's so much more to instructional design, contemporary instructional design, than the LMS, and so you have to have a critical eye and connoisseurship because there's a lot of things that come up. Just got back from the EDUCAUSE conference, and there's very, very well established companies and technologies and new startups, and you have to have a critical eye for what's going to have real value for teaching and learning and instructional design, whether it's a simple authoring tool, an analytics tool, a new type of learning environment, etc. Because I've seen a lot of people get burned in the past, just not really understanding and knowing the value for learning within a particular organization, what a particular technology would have. And of course, kind of building on the connoisseurship, you have to know, looking at number 3 in terms of the outcomes, you have to know what is the best tool, what is the best technique, for a particular situation or problem. Instructional design really is about problems and, trying to bridge the gap with those problems, those identifiable, performance gaps, and it's usually a mix. There's never a paint by the numbers sort of textbook way of addressing every problem. There just simply isn't, because the very nature of what instructional design is. You're trying to create particular learning outcomes or experiences, assess them, and hopefully benefit the individual, the organization, or whatever constituents that you may serve. Looking at number 4 briefly, I think it's important, obviously, to always be learning, participating in your professional networks. I mean, I'm very fortunate to have such great colleagues and connections, Susan and various other colleagues who are working on this program, and folks beyond that, because I'll give you an example of competency-based learning. It's one of the new things that are going on right now, one of the new buzzwords, and there's new technologies that are cropping up around competency-based learning. Well, what does competency-based learning really mean? Well, it means different things to different people, and when do you use it, and what kind of value does it have? When you have an initiative or a administrator who wants to do mobile learning, well, why? How are we going to, what purpose is it going to serve? I remember working on a gamified course a few years ago, and we didn't really necessarily know why we were doing it. We were just told we need to gamify this course. Well, you have to really dig deep into why and what value some of these initiatives have, and be a connoisseur. You really have to be a connoisseur. When I look at Susan's work, and the great work that she's done, and her blog, and all the different places that she's consulted with, you really have to be a connoisseur to be effective. You cannot just jump from one fad and trend and technology to the other, because you're not going to be successful doing that.
I really agree with that, Jeff, and it's really fun to try to jump on the different fads, but it's amazing how ephemeral they are and how they're kind of distractors. So getting back to like using a lot of the new technologies and embracing some of the different concepts, but not getting so distracted by them that it crashes the entire program is really pretty critical.
Totally agree. You really want to focus on what kind of learning, change in learning in the population, are we going to focus on, and let the tools will emerge from that. And kind of like building on that, looking at number 5, we hope to leave students with, that sort of burgeoning reflective commitment, to the field, that transcends a lot of these passing things that we talked about. And we also, at the end of the day, we want, at the end of this program, we want students to leave with a tangible, high quality, creative instructional program that's for a particular population or purpose. To actually have done a lot of these things that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about abstract concepts and things, but we're going to do them too. And students are going to be expected to do them and leave the program with real artifacts that they can use in portfolios and things. So those are the high-level 10,000-foot outcomes. The first course that we're looking at right now is the Intro to Instructional Design. And we're about 25 minutes in. I'm going to be respectful of people's time in the event that we have questions. I'm going to ask Levi if we have any questions really quickly. Levi, do we have any questions on the wall? Or?
Yes, Serena Jones, will we be learning any specific types of software to practice these concepts?
Okay, great. We'll get to that question in a moment. I just wanted to gauge our time here. So we do have one question so far. So the first course is the Intro to Instructional Design. It really provides the foundation, of going forward. And a lot of the courses, like if I could jump through to the third course in a sequence, Learning in the Connected Age, really builds on the instructional design course because in many ways, Learning in the Connected Age looks at mobile learning and social learning and connected learning in the workplace and in various educational settings. And how is that different? How does a designer have to think differently or design differently or analyze their learner population differently to create an effective learning experience? I mean, and it is different. You have to consider a lot of things, challenges, but also opportunities, situated cognition. Susan and I were just having a conversation before we got started today, just kind of testing out Google Hangouts and making sure everything was going to work properly about situated cognition. How does it change learning if you are actually in your authentic world and your authentic space and environment? And then more importantly, Susan, how does that change how you design for them? I mean, you're doing that right now, in your role right now. I mean. Real briefly, like what are some of the first things that you kind of consider when you consider mobility when it comes to instructional design, Susan?
Well, I'd say essentially where will the users be using it and why, and building in redundancy because you really can't predict the level of connectivity or the quality of connectivity. So having really thinking about multiple ways to access the information and multiple ways to collaborate is critical.
Right. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that each of the courses sequentially build on the others, and they were put together and sort of rearranged thoughtfully to sort of produce and scaffold students to that level. So the first course is sort of the foundation of what is the process of instructional design and identifying gaps and problems and then addressing them with aligned instruction. So the second course in the sequence is learner motivation and engagement. It's a lot of the learner psychology behind decisions and instructional design, pedagogy, andragogy. This is a course that Susan's going to be teaching. The different perspective we took in this course, and if you look at different programs out there, a lot of them really take the developmental psychology and the adult learning psychology, pedagogy, and andragogy, and they have different tracks or different courses, and we decided that we'd combine them. Susan and I had long discussions about this, and the reason we did that is because we thought it'd be a great learning opportunity to draw contrast between the different types of learners, at the different developmental stages. Why does the adult learner have to have an immediate context in front of them? There has to be a reason. There's never learning for its own sake. There has to be an application, and so we did that because we felt that it would be unique and also a great opportunity to draw a contrast between the two different populations. Anything that you wanted to add to that, Susan?
Well, I think that keeping people excited about it, motivating, goal setting, there are always different ways to do that given the individual learners. But if you are having to put together a training program or you're putting together a course for a university, the things that you're worried about are things like, will people actually finish? and how are they going to be able to finish? So this ties in really with managing and organizing the content as well, because you want to be able to build it up, break things into small chunks, give people little rewards, teach people how to reward themselves, and then just building in kind of an I can do it attitude, which is always good.
Yeah, motivation is critical. Learner motivation and engagement, and we don't always get there, but that's critical to the success of a initiative or a curriculum or course, a module, a lesson, an objective. I'm going through these quickly, so please bear with me, and by all means, we'll have plenty of time for questions today and asynchronously on the Google Hangout wall. So we'll also have some contact information for the Director of Admissions and the people you can chat with more about the program, including myself. This is my labor of love. This is the third course in the sequence, Learning in the Connected Age. It really looks at instructional design, and we talked about it a little bit, probably too much because it is my passion and my interest from a teaching perspective, from a research perspective, from a practitioner's perspective. I think you cannot think about learning now without thinking about the social layer and the connections. And one theory that I'm very close to is George Siemens' connectivism theory. Looking past constructivism and how does that constant connectivity to information, resources, and people change learning. I think it certainly does. It's an opportunity. I think that there's research out there that shows the challenges associated with that as well. So you have to be aware of these when you're making decisions, and when you have, the next wave. We're going to do mobile learning. Well, why are we going to do it? And then how is it going to be? More importantly, how is it going to be successful? How are we going to design learning experiences with mobility in mind that are going to be successful? Years ago when Susan and I first connected with the PDA Coast Guard courses, it was shoveled content. It was didactic. It was a glorified electronic correspondence course. And I think we can be critical of what we did. But that was years ago. It was before a lot of the things that I mentioned earlier. So you cannot think about instructional design and learning without considering mobility. It's just that's the world that we're in. So this class is when I look at the readings sprawn across all of my desk right here, it's a collection of a multitude of readings and people I follow and my own connoisseurship within this niche area of instructional design, and I can't wait to teach it as the third course in the sequence. We need to kind of move on. I know folks probably want to ask some questions at the end, and they may be on their lunch breaks here on the East Coast. Learning technologies. Do you want to give an overview of this one, Susan?
Sure. Well, okay, this is a really critical one, and I think it's part of the key is to, like, first of all, let people know what the technologies are, and then the technologies fit in also with software. So the question about if people will learn about specific software and hardware, yes. And then also the concepts. So after defining what it is, what they do, then it's how to apply. So selecting, determining, make good matches for your objectives and the people. So it's really, I think, a lot of fun and quick moving, very practical. You'll have a chance to do a simple solution, also a crazy out there, and one there you can really impress people with the technologies that you know.
Yeah, and it's not going to be Learning Management System 101. There's
No.
so much more to learning technologies. I think the question that we'll get to here in a second, Levi mentioned it. Are we going to use some of these technologies? And of course, there are authoring tools that one creates, branched learning objects and scenarios and things which we'll model in the first course and some others. But it's much more than the LMS. There, the learning analytics, going back to, that connoisseurship, and I'm really interested in the social layer of disaggregated electronic reading environments. You're not your e-texts and things that students hated years ago in your PDFs, but interactive social environments around that knowledge level of a course, your readings and various pieces of content, and not letting the publishers sort of dictate that pedagogy by just choosing a table of contents for X textbook. And there are so many new neat technologies that are happening right here at Rollins. We just acquired a technology that allows students in the library, or I'm sorry, faculty in the library, to sort of create a custom reading digital list automatically linked within the LMS. So when you add the social layer and of course the analytics behind that, all of those new assessment opportunities sort of emerge, and you're really talking about a game changer. So we're talking much more about the LMS. Canvas versus Blackboard versus Moodle versus Desire-Learn, whoever. It's much bigger than that. And I think it's important to just reiterate that you need to be a connoisseur. You need to be somebody who's critically always, on the lookout, evaluating, and not being sort of sucked into the latest and greatest trends and the glossiness at the time. Focus on learning.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and also sharing. So and this ties into like the e-learning things too. When I think of e-learning, I think of mobile learning too, but I think of ways that students can go out there in the wild and say, for example, I talked earlier about how Tulsa is like the place of feral cats. Well, there's a place I like to walk. There's 11th Street Bridge, and underneath the bridge, there are I've counted as many as 15 cats, which is kind of sad and cute and horrible at the same time. But I was thinking, okay, so what if you're in a course where you're talking about ethics and social responsibility or whatever, and then you have students who are doing projects, and somebody says, okay, what do we do about the feral cat problem? Well, how fun is it to go on a walk and then just take photographs with your Android or your Nexus 6 or iPhone 6 or whatever, but then post them directly to a place where you can share easily and then just interact with each other, but it has a sort of real feeling. And so what I like to do is think about e-learning as a way that's doable and simple, easily, or simple organization, fun, but it has a lot of flexibility to give students a chance to show their creativity and to problem solve too. So those are the things, and then as well as the necessary elements of assessing and determining whether or not you can do what you're supposed to be able to do at the end of the course, outcomes, assessment, etc.
Absolutely, and e-learning is a tough one. I know that, I was chatting with a colleague. What is e-learning? Why is it different than some of the other courses? And what is it? I think that if I was to try to define it, it's maybe an umbrella of contemporary teaching and learning, which could encompass mobility and social learning, competency-based, maybe technology-mediated. Analytics, so it's sort of an umbrella term that has been batted around and defined in different ways. But the reason that is the final course before the capstone is because of that sort of umbrella nature of it. We hope that it's going to be sort of an all-encompassing thing. I think that maybe some of the folks here who are listening and folks who may listen to this after the fact may have various colleagues or instructional design or learning or training oriented backgrounds who want to hire an e-learning analyst or an e-learning designer, and not really knowing what that means. So I think it's important to sort of end the courses with sort of this umbrella of e-learning as well. So and as I said earlier, we have the capstone in the certificate, which is going to be a culmination of sort of synthesizing and culling together all the projects, all the things that students have done into the beginnings of creating a portfolio and starting that connoisseurship and giving them the ability to get into the career job level position that they really want. I think CNN had instructional design as the 30th hottest career of 100 or something that I saw recently. So you can't go to LinkedIn, you can't go to Higher Ed Jobs and not see something about e-learning, instructional design, yada yada yada. So it's big, and I think that
it is. Yeah, and I just want to jump in and say, instructional design is like e-learning is many things to many people, and so to some people, instructional design is very rigid, lockstep. Working with an instructional design document. It's all about enforcement and cracking the whip, and that's probably legitimate. But it's also about really being creative and thinking about outcomes. So I think that that this will clarify and say, oh, mystery solved for many things.
Yeah, absolutely. Going beyond the buzzwords and the trendiness of a lot of the things that are thrown around, we really, hope that this is a valuable, meaningful experience that transcends a lot of that stuff and can be timely. You're always going to have to be learning. You're always going to have to be looking and searching and honing your skills. But I think that's the kind of person that the field attracts. Those very successful people who just have a passion for this. So that's the broad overview. We've taken a little longer than we wanted to originally. I want to be respectful of people's time. We've gone about 41 minutes so far. So Susan, I think we have a question or two. Let's ask Levi, our student, what questions we can address right now. Levi, what was the first question?
The first question was from Serena Jones, and the question is, will we be learning any specific types of software to practice these concepts?
You want to take a stab at that first, Susan? Did you hear that?
Yes. Yes, we will definitely incorporate different kinds of software. We'll give you an array of software. Now, I don't know. I'm like Jeff. I like playing around with simple, free things. So we'll explore a lot of the Google suite of products, and also a lot of that includes things like YouTube, etc. And then some of the standard things that you'll probably need to know for your job or your role. So things that range from, say, Camtasia and Captivate, etc.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that there isn't one sort of Swiss Army knife out there of technology that's going to make you into the most successful instructional designer in the world. There are so many great tools out there, big, small, free, expensive, and again, it goes back to just being a critical evaluator and knowing when to use what has value for a particular application. We'll be modeling some new things in this learning experience and getting away from the traditional LMS being a major thing. But we'll also be using some some tools that they're pretty ubiquitous.
Oh yeah, like I've got a couple of go-to tools. Audacity being one for free sound recording. It's fabulous and it's free.
Yeah. Audacity is a great free tool. It's kind of like the free version of Photoshop. So a lot of folks use it. So I don't know if that answered the question. I hope it did. If not, Sabrina, please post on the wall again, or feel free to chime in too. We have up to 10 users we can use in this Hangout, and I'll hand the mic over to you. But Levi, did we have more questions?
Yes, we have two more. The second one is from Daniel Davis, and he says, I often travel outside the U.S. Can we take the courses if we're overseas?
Absolutely. You know, I know we've been talking a lot about our background and how we kind of connected Susan, but absolutely. I mean, a lot of the projects failed and successful. Mobile courses were done for military students, and offline access and connectivity, and those were all a lot of issues that we had. So absolutely, you know, we're really designing it in a way that could be, you know, used for somebody who's on the go, anywhere, anytime. And again, going back to my brief overview, yes, it's going to be asynchronous. Yes, we're going to have self-directed, some competency-based things. And we may have the occasional synchronous, you know, event too, but it's not going to be hard-coded for everybody. And I think that's important to consider too from a practical side of instructional design. Did you want to add anything to that, Susan?
Yes, like and like I've had to try to do online courses and teaching from any place from say Mozambique, right across the border from Zimbabwe to China to England or whatever. And the thing is, we will respect the fact that you're going to have different bandwidth and speed restrictions, and also sometimes you can't access things. I mean, I was raving about Google. Well, then I go, oops. Well, if you're going to be in China, that's not going to be an option. So we'll make sure that we understand that, and we will have, like Jeff was saying, lots of options and solutions.
And it brings up a point about accessibility and making sure everything is available to all types of learners with all types of abilities as well. And that's definitely something we're going to have infused in the certificate as well. 508 compliance, accessibility. If you have something that's media rich and heavy, you have alternatives that get the same instructional message and opportunity across to all types of learners. Levi, we had a couple more questions?
Yes, we have one more from Amanda W. And she says, how will students be evaluated for competency throughout the program? What constitutes successful completion of a course, grades, complete, incomplete?
So Amanda had a question about competencies and how the students are going to be assessed. We didn't get into a lot of that. It's a great question. Students are going to be assessed. We're going to try to model a lot of the topics and concepts that we're going to be presenting. There's going to be various types of activities that students are going to participate in. There may be asynchronous discussions. There may be collaborative teamwork, assignments, presentations. Again, everything that can be done asynchronously, non-real-time, online. We'll have probably some knowledge level mastery assessments and activities. The big assessments will be on the projects, project-based learning, problem-based learning, where we have students, you know, via a rubric, you know, create something that could be then applied in their current job or the job they want to get, and also within building a portfolio as well. So that's how they're going to be assessed. Susan, did you want to add anything to that?
Well, I think that it's nothing to fear. I mean, I know that there's a lot of anxiety that comes along with taking a course online, and the assessment tends to be the place where people have the most fear. But we take a view of it's like a facilitated coaching, mentoring, very happy place to be.
Yeah, I think you know, I was looking at the text. One of the chapters or text that Susan's using. I forget the name of it right now. something about the adult learner, but you know, the research that they reference about emotions and learning, I really found fascinating, and I think that's important as well. So that's kind of what we had scheduled for today. I hope this was beneficial and useful. I know that it was a lot of information in a short period of time. We've gone over a little bit, but again, this is going to be archived, and we have. Let me bring up the contact page here. We have folks that can answer more questions here at Rollins. Our Director of Admissions, Nick, is down there in the bottom left-hand corner, myself and Susan. So if you have more questions and you want to engage with us a bit more and find out more about this great opportunity, by all means contact us. All of our information is there. Nick is the smartest of all of us in terms of all that, so please contact Nick. And again, we're going to be starting in December. You can apply online. You can set up an appointment to talk to at admissions or myself. And there are scholarships available and discounts for Rollins alumni and staff. So that's what we got. So I hope this was beneficial. I'm excited about teaching in the program. I'm excited about doing something new that's going to value teaching and learning and moving that forward. And I'm excited to work with great people like Susan and our other colleagues too. So Susan, did you want to share any final thoughts before we end this for today?
Well, I just wanted to reiterate what Jeff was saying, that this is a very, very hot, fast-paced, growing field. And, you know, sometimes it's kind of nerve-wracking to think of all the change and the rapid pace of change in our society. But in this case, change is always our friend, or probably our best friend, because the more change there is, the more need there is for people to learn how to do whatever the new skills or abilities or knowledge sets are and how to use them. And this is a program that's fun and different than others, and it will give you that equipment to succeed.
Absolutely. I think that, you know, going beyond sort of didactic textbook learning, things that you can just find and, you know, go to Wikipedia, you know, we're really trying to create an opportunity to network, to build relationships, to learn from our mistakes and our successes, and Susan and I and our colleagues don't know everything. We are learning every day, and I think that's what it means to be, you know, a successful learning architect. You know, an instructional designer, somebody who creates the opportunity for learning and personal growth. And that's why we're involved with this. That's why we are in the field, and that's why we love what we do. So by all means, if you have questions, thank you so much, Susan, and everybody else who's participated today, Levi, for facilitating our questions. If you have more questions, by all means, you can send a note over to Nick, myself, connect with Susan on the eLearning Queen website, or email her. You can also post on the Hangout wall as well. So thank you all very much. I really appreciate it. And
thank you, Jeff.
Yeah, we'll probably have a couple more of these. Let me have Susan say goodbye. Thank you, Susan.
This was great.
This was a lot of fun, and looking forward to interacting and engaging more with folks who are interested. Thank you all so much. We're going to go ahead and sign off. Bye-bye.